What's going on, everyone? You are welcome to Web Chrony Online YouTube channel. Before I introduce you to today's lesson, I have this little game I would like us to play. This game is called Click to Disappear, and this is how it works. There is a white button that has a black text saying subscribe on your screen. Once you see anything that matches the description I've just given, click on it for the button to disappear or transform. And once you are able to do that, you have won this game. But if you can't see anything that matches the description that I've given, it means you have played this game and won already. In this case, type in the comment section "I am a hero" to indicate that indeed you have played this game to win. Please don't continue this lesson without playing this game because it is very important and I appreciate that a lot. And as a matter of fact, by the power vested in me by you as your online programming instructor, I command you to play this game in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Oh, amen. Alright, that's just by the way, but please play this game because it really means a whole lot to me. Alright, great. In today's lesson, we will be styling some web elements and our focus will be on containers and test elements. With my Visual Studio Code already opened, we will jump right into it in a moment. But before we do that, I have the link to my WhatsApp group where I share links to my resources and offer personalized assistance to people who are subscribed to my channel in the description below. Go check it out and join the platform today. Ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. Okay guys, so I'll begin by heading over to this icon, click to open it. I would like to sanitize my project, so I'll delete a couple of things and then recreate them. Okay, so I'll begin by deleting the HTML folder. I'll also delete the styles folder and recreate them from scratch. Okay, so I'll click any space within this area so that I will deselect the files folder. Click on this icon to create my folder which says HTML. Okay, so once the HTML is still selected, I will click here to create my index.html. Alright, and once my index.html file has been created, with the help of the emmet, I will hit enter to generate this template. Okay, I would like to change the title of this web page to Introduction to CSS, and inside the body tag I will create a container which is a div, by the way, and inside the div container I will create an h1 element with the text "This is an introduction to CSS." Okay, so I'll come back here and click any space out of the current folders and then click on this icon to create a new folder called styles. Inside this styles folder, I will click this icon to create index.css like this. Okay, and don't forget to link the index.css to the index.html. okay, so inside the head tag right after the title element, I will create my link element and I will walk out of the current folder, go to the styles folder and then select the index.css. so I'll click on this icon to close the side menu and I will click on the go live to show what we are doing right away. Okay guys, so we have our web page opened on this side of the screen. I will restore down the code editor so that we can show both the code and the result at the same time. Okay, so let's begin by adding some styles to our web page. Okay, now as you can see, there is this space around this h1 element and the h1 element is also bold and the font size is quite bigger than normal. Okay, and the reason is that the browser has default styles for all web elements and we can change that. And in the previous lesson we learned that we can have a default style for all web elements, and to do that we type the asterisk followed by opening and closing curly bracket, and inside the curly braces or curly bracket we can give instruction to override the browser's default styles. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is called margin, and this margin I'm going to set it to 0. Now let's take a look at what happens. So it takes it to the very corner of the web page. Okay, There is another one called padding. I will also set it to 0. Okay, we will get back to this. Now let's begin by styling our container, which is the div. Okay guys, so styling the div, I will just type my div tag here, followed by opening and closing curly bracket, and the first thing that I'm going to do is to change the background of this container. So I'll set background. Okay, you can set background or background color, either of them works just fine, and I will set the color to red like this. Great. Now one interesting thing about the Visual Studio Code is that if you don't know the exact color to use, you can just type something close to the color, and once you do that, you bring your cursor close to the color and it will bring you a color panel. So if you bring this part like this, you can change the color to anyhow you want. So I can bring it here and it is all right. Okay, you can also change the opacity. Okay, and by opacity I mean the transparency. Okay, so when I bring it down, you see that the color is now transparent. Okay, so let me bring it up. Let me also take it back to red like this. Okay, you can, if in case you don't like the RGB, you can click on it to have a color code. Okay, I usually prefer the color code. All right, great. Now I also want to have every text in this container to be white, so I will set color to white. Okay, and now the text is white. Now don't forget that I have a container with an h1 element in it. Okay, now in this case the container becomes a parent element and the h1 becomes a child element. Any star that I set for the parent element will automatically be applied to the child or the children elements. Okay, but if I set a specific style for the child element, then it will override that of the parent element. Okay, and we will get into it in a moment. All right, now let me move back to the margin. Let me set a margin for this container, and I'll set the margin to, let's say, 20 pixels, and let's see what happens. And now there is space of 20 pixels around the container. Okay, great. Now with the margin, we can also set margin for different locations. For example, I can have a margin top of, let's say, 50 pixels like this. Okay, by the way, let me get rid of this, and now we have a margin of 50 pixels from the top, but left and right we don't have anything like that. Okay, I can also set a margin right, so with Emmet I can say MR like this, and margin right I'll type, let's say, 50 pixels like this, and it will have 50 pixels margin or space at the right. I can also do same for the left, so I can say margin left like this, and I will also set it to 50 pixels like this, and now I have 50 pixels. Now let me create one more element at the bottom of the h1 element. So for example, I have my paragraph like this, and it will have, let's say, 10 text, so I'll hit enter like this. Now I can set margin bottom like this, so I'll say margin bottom and set that one to 50 pixels like this, and now there is a margin of 50 pixels around the button. Okay, if I don't want to go through the stress of typing for margin top, margin right, margin left, margin bottom, I can just type margin like this. Can just tap margin like this and set it to 50 pixels, and it will apply around the entire button. If I want the top and down to be 50 and then the left and right to be, let's say, 20, then I will bring space and say 20 pixels like this, and as you can see, the top and bottom have 50 pixels space around the button, and the left and right is only 20. Okay, if I add some more, it will affect the bottom like this. So let me say at the bottom I will set it to 10 pixels like this, and as you can see the space at the bottom is only 10 pixels. And let me say I set 40 pixels like this, then the 40 pixels would be on the left. So this is how it goes: top, right, bottom, and then left. Okay, so instead of going all this way like this, I can just go this way and it will save me so much typing. Is that okay? All right, now there is another one that also allows some space, and I will explain the difference between these two in a moment. And this one is called padding. Okay, so I'll say padding top like this. So I'll type pt and then Emmet will give me the padding top. I'll set the padding top to, let's say, 20 pixels, and as you can see inside the container a space of 20 pixels have been included at the top. Okay, I can set the padding bottom, so pb like this, and I will set that one to, let's say, 30 pixels. And as you can see right there, I can also have my padding right like this and set it to, let's say, 40 pixels, and 40 pixels has been set to the right. And finally I'll have my padding left and set that one to 40 pixels like this, and now 40 pixels have been added to the left. Is that okay? Again, if I don't want to type plenty and I just want to go straight to the point, I'll comment out the whole of this, and under it I'll just type padding like this, and inside the padding, if I want like an even space around it, let's say 20 pixels, then there will be 20 pixels space even around all of it. But if I want the top and down to be 20, the left and right to be, let's say, 40 like this, then it will be applied. Okay, if I add some more, let me say 50 pixels, it will be applied to the right, and when I add another one, let's say 60 pixels, it will be applied to the left. Okay, so sorry, this one will apply to the bottom and this one will apply to the left. Okay, so this is top, right, bottom, and then left. Okay, so it goes this way. Okay, great. Now we can also give the container borders. Okay, so I will say border, and the border will have some attribute that must be added. So for example, I can have 1 pixel solid, let me say blue. Okay, and look at it, we have a blue border around it, and the thickness of the border is 1 pixel. I can set it to, let's say, 5 pixels so that it will be bold like this, right? Great. I can change this color anyhow I want. For example, I will just bring my cursor here and then move my cursor on the, I don't know whether I should call it a color palette or something, and maybe, you know, move it around, adjust it anyhow I want. Okay, if I want it to be dark, I can just bring my cursor somewhere here like this, and yeah, so anyhow you want. If you don't want the RGB, you can click on it like this so that you get a color code. Okay, great. Now don't also forget that with the border, let me comment this one out and then bring introduce you to how we have been doing the padding and then the margin. Okay, so for example, I can have border at the top. So border top, I can set it to, let's say, 2 pixels solid, let me say green. Okay, and as you can see, okay, I think let's make it 5 so that it will be visible. Okay, so now we have a border at the top. Okay, right, so I can do the same for the bottom. Okay, border bottom, so I can say BB like this and select the third one like this, and maybe set it to 5 pixels solid blue like this, and now the bottom has a border of blue color, I can do same for the left like this. Border left like this, and maybe this one to have 5 pixels solid, let me say yellow like this. And as you can see, we have it right here. And finally the border right, okay, border right like this, and let me say it will also have 5 pixels solid gray, okay, like this. And as you can see, we have it right here, okay. But if you want to have a uniform color, then the best way to do it is to, you know, comment this one out and then uncomment this one like this, okay. Now that we have mentioned borders, it is always important to also add the border radius, because it makes things look very beautiful. And this is how the border radius works. So I'll just type border radius like this, and with the border radius you just have to give it the pixels. So let me say 5, let me make it big, 10 pixels like this. And as you can see, we have some round corners, okay. I can set it to, let's say, 40 pixels like this, so that the curve will be sharp, right? So that's how we set border radius, okay. There are some more attributes that we can add. We can even add an image as the background, okay. So let me just comment this one out like this, and let me say set the background color, and let me set the background color to red like this, okay. Maybe I'll make it more beautiful by, you know, bringing it somewhere here like this. I always like the color code instead of the RGB code, okay. So something like this. I can also add an image as the background. So for example, I can set background image, so I can just add BG and maybe select the image. Then how we set the background image is very interesting. We bring what we call URL like this, and inside the bracket we will now link the path to the image, okay. So for example, I will walk out of the CSS folder, move into the files folder, and maybe select this one like this. And as you can see, the background is black, and the reason why we can't see the full image is because of the dimensions of the, what do we call it, dimensions of the image, okay. So I can set background size, okay, background size to, let's say, contain or cover. So let me set it to contain, and as you can see, the image is inside, right? And as you can see, the image is appearing 4 times, I think 1 2 3 4, okay. And this is by default because of the, you know, dimensions of the image and the container, right? If I don't want it to be like that, I can set the background repeat, okay, and set it to no repeat like this, and now only one image is showing, all right. And with the contain, I can set it to cover, so that the image will cover the entire container, and as you can see, that is right there, right? I can also set it to 100%, okay. I can also set it to 100% and it will work just fine, all right. So that is how we go by it. There are so many incredible things you can do with the background of a container, okay. Let me also add some, you know, dimensions. So for example, I can set the height of the container to take the full screen, and if you want it to take a full screen, we type 100 VH, where the VA stands for view height, okay. And as you can see, it has taken 100% of the height of the screen, okay. If I remove the margin, you see that it will take the full space on the screen, as you can see like this. It has taken 100% height of the screen, right? Great. And at this point, I think I'll comment this one out so that the background color will be, or the background image will be repeated. Okay, and as you can see, it is 2, right? Now I can also set the container's width, and to set a width, I want you to take the entire space. But before then, we can also set this one to any pixel of our choice. So for example, I can set it to, let's say, 300 pixels like this. And now the height of this container is 300 pixels. I can also set the width of this container to, let's say, 100 VW, which stands for view width, which means it will take the entire screen like this. So as you can see, it is taking the entire screen. And the reason why we are scrolling left and right to display everything is because of the padding and then the margin. Okay, if you want to still have the padding and the margin without overflowing the boundaries of the screen, then we need to add a property here called box sizing. Okay, and set it to border box. And when we do that, all the padding and the margin and everything will be included in the dimensions that we set. Okay, so for example, I can uncomment the margin like this, and well, I think this doesn't apply to the margin because the margin is outside. Okay, any other thing is inside, but the margin is outside, right? So let's see. Yeah, I think when we are on full screen, it works just fine. Okay, well, the margin is still taking the space, and the reason is that, like I said, the margin is outside of the container and the padding is inside. So when you set the box sizing, it will calculate everything inside the dimensions that has been given. Okay, all right, so I think I'll comment out the margin so that we can see whatever is going on. All right, and now that we have set let me set the width to, let's say, 300 pixels so that we will have a square. Okay, 300 pixels. So now that we have a height of 300 pixels and a width of 300 pixels, then we can make this one in the form of a circle, and we do so by setting the border radius to half the dimensions of the height and then the width. Okay, so now that we know that the height is 300 pixels and then the width is 300 pixels, half of it will be 150 pixels. So I will set it to 150 pixels, and now we have a circle. Okay, now in case you are not aware of the actual size of the container, then we can set it in percentage. Okay, and half in percentage is what? 50%. So let me just clear this one. We still have our square, and when I set it to 50%, we now have our circle, as you can see right there. Okay, so there are so many things that you can do to a container. All right, okay guys, so in order to keep the whole thing clean, I would like to clean up a couple of things. So I'll clean this one and then uncomment the margin out. I'll also clean this one out like this, and then I'll let the pattern have 60 pixels like this, and of course I'll make it have the white text. It looks nicer than this. And I will also comment out the border radius. I will also comment out the height and width. Let me also comment out this one and this one too. Okay, now we are moving on to the text element. So for example, we have two text elements in this HTML page. We have the H1 element and then the paragraph element. Okay, let's begin by styling the H1 element. So I'll bring my H1 element like this, opening and closing curly bracket, and I'll begin by giving my instructions. So the first thing that I can do is to format the text. So for example, I can change the font by typing font family. Okay, and with the font family, Visual Studio Code, or let me say HTML5, has certain supported font family, okay, or let me say font, but you can add your own font, maybe Google font or whatever. Okay, so for example, I'll type the cursive and let's see how it appears. Now it has changed. Okay, let me also bring in some more. Let's try the Courier New. You see how it appears. Let's also try the monospace and look at how it appears. Okay, so there are so many options available to you. Let's try this one, and as you can see, let me also try Girl Sans like this, and you see that the font family is different. Okay, so that is it. Then I will also change the font size. Okay, from the current font size, I'll set font size to, let's say, 50 pixels like this. Okay, now there are different units for certain font size. Okay, so for example, we have the pixels, we also have the EM like this, and with the EM is very big, so let me just reduce it to 5. As you can see, we also have the REM like this. Okay, so that is it. All right, but mostly I prefer the pixels because it is more accurate, and that's what I'm actually comfortable with. Okay, so let's take it back to 50 pixels like this. Okay, now we can also change the boldness of the text. So to do that, we have the font width. When you type W like this and select the second one, we have from 1 to 900. Okay, so if you select 900, it means that is the boldest among all. If I select, let's say, 500, the boldness will reduce more, and if I select 300, it will be very thin. If I select 100, it will be the thinnest. Okay, all right, so the normal one is 400. That is the normal boldness. I think it's 300, not 400. So 300 like this, that's the normal font width. Okay, then also I can change the color like this. I can change it to, let's say, light blue like this, and you see the color has changed to light blue. Don't forget that we have set it to white here, but because this is the parent element and this is the child element, the styles applied to the child element will always superimpose the parent element. Let's try to set the important attribute here and see what happens. Well, it doesn't work because the child is at liberty to have its own properties. Okay, great. All right, so I'll set it back to white. Okay, I'll set it back to white because I think the white looks better. I can transform the text from current case to uppercase. So for example, I can say text transform and set it to uppercase, and all the text will be uppercase. I can set it to capitalize, and it will capitalize the first letter of every word. Okay, I can also set it to lowercase like this, and all the text all the characters will be transformed to lowercase. Okay, so there are more. If you hit like this, then everything, all the options will come, like control and space, all the options will come. Okay, so let me set it back to the uppercase like this. All right, we also have another one we call decoration, where we can decorate the text. So for example, I can say text decoration, and with the decoration I can set it to underline, and the text will be underlined. Okay, still under the decoration I can see dotted. Well, nothing happened. We can also have line through, and as the name suggests, there will be a line through the text. Okay, So they are all there. Not everything can be applied to a particular element. We can also have alignment. Okay, so for example, I can say text align, and with the text align I can set it to center and the text will be centered. Okay, I can also set it to left and the text will have a left alignment. I can set it to right and it will have a right alignment, and I can also set it to, I think, okay, so let's do the end. The end is the same as the right. We also have start, which is the same as the left. Then we also have justify, which will, as you can see right there, the justify works also just fine. Okay, then we can also set it to center like this and it works just fine. Okay, alright, so we can also have a background for a text element. So let me set the background color of this to, let's say, this one, and as you can see it is right there. We can give it some padding of, let's say, 20 pixels, and we have it right there. We can also set the margin. So let me say margin, and with the margin I'll set it to, let's say, 50 pixels, and we have it right there. Okay, so yeah, that is it. Now we can also style the letters of the text. Okay, so for example, we can set the letter spacing to, let's say, 50 pixels, and the letters will be separated by 50 pixels. Okay, or they will be set to 50 pixels apart. Let me set it to 10, and now the text are 10 pixels apart from one another. Is that okay? So there are so many things, and as time goes on we will be practicing them, especially when we are building projects. Okay, great. Now the video is getting longer than I thought, so I would like to end it all here. Thank you very much for sticking with me to the very end. I appreciate that very much. I'm sure you played the game and you won because you are a hero, and I appreciate that. Okay, kindly leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it or if you learn a thing or two. And if you are not a member of my WhatsApp group, kindly check the description. I have the link to my WhatsApp group down there waiting for you. Go check it out and join today. Until we meet again in the next lesson, peace out.